Today I will be discussing language demands in mathematics. You might be thinking, what are language demands? Language demands are discourse elements, register, grammatical patterns, symbols, vocabulary, and the way words are articulated. Let's get started. Discourse elements. Discourse elements are those phrases that help a child expand on their learning. This helps students think outside the box and provide a reasoning for their response. This shows the teacher that the students understand the concepts. Some examples include, did anyone get a different answer? How did you reach that conclusion? What do you do next? And how would you check your response? Register. The register from mathematics is an academic formal register. To succeed using an academic mathematic register, the teacher needs to learn how to separate social and academic registers. For example, the teacher would not talk to their students like they would speak to a friend on a Friday night. An example of this would be, what is the measurement of angle C in the triangle? An informal example is OMG. Grammatical patterns. Grammatical patterns in mathematics are the way mathematicians read a problem or answer. Obviously, the grammatical patterns change with the subject and grade level. Teachers would not speak to the second grade class the way they speak to a seventh grade class. This also refers to register. Examples of this include 3 plus 1 equals 4. 4 plus 5 equals 10. Even though the second example is wrong, it is still grammatically correct. Symbols. Symbols in mathematics can control the steps one must take to complete the problem. Beginning in algebra class, teachers and students use the PEMDAS acronym. This continues throughout the student's math career. P refers to parentheses, E exponents, M multiplication, D division, A addition, S subtraction, where M and D and A and S are reversible. Next we'll talk about vocabulary. Mathematics vocabulary can be difficult for every student to obtain, especially English language learners, because there are a number of words that have multiple meanings. Students can get confused because most words are used in everyday life. An example of this would be mean. The daily meaning is offensive. In math, it means an average. Root has a daily meaning of the underground part of a plant tree. In the math, it means a quantity raised to a power. A domain means a territory, but in math, it means a set of values assigned. Articulation. In mathematics, congruency is when two shapes or objects are the same size and shape. Teachers and students normally see this objective in geometry, dealing with shapes. A teacher might ask a student to determine if two triangles are congruent and to explain their answer. Two shapes might be similar, but they might not be congruent. Here's an example of congruency related to shapes. In the left-hand side, we have a rhombus. It has 4 congruent sides. On the right side, we have a rectangle, which has 4 congruent angles. If we put those two together, we get a square. 4 congruent sides with 4 congruent angles. Reviewing my lesson plan. In my lesson plan, I asked my students to identify the design process, collect data, and analyze an object. Identify. To have my students obtain this skill, they need to know how to identify something. I guess a better word for this objective is recall. I am asking my students to tell me each step of the design process in a 2-minute essay at the end of class. I will need to show my students the design process because it could vary in different countries and meanings. It is important to teach them how it works with examples. Collect. To have students obtain the skill, the students need to know what data is and how to obtain it. It is important that students know the anatomy vocabulary because I am asking the students to measure certain body parts for their homework. It might not be mathematic vocabulary, but students need to understand it to complete the homework to the full potential. Analyze. This objective in my lesson means for students to receive an object and take accurate measurements of specific pieces. Just like collecting data, students need to know the vocabulary for the measurements. I would be asking my students to find width, height, and length. Some students might know exactly what these terms mean, so it is important to explain them in detail with examples. Here you will notice my resources. Thank you.